Okay, let's call to order Town Lloyd Board Workshop Meeting, December 6th, 2023, and I'll ask Councilman Farino to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you want some water or something?
No, I'm good.
You okay?
You all right?
Yeah, he's got a little cough.
Sound that bad?
No, he just had a little cough.
Okay, we're going to start off, like most workshop meetings, we're going to go through the reports, and we will start off with Building and Zoning Department with Mr. Barton.
Excuse me, Mark. I think you need to move back a seat. You're right in front of the camera.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. All set?
Yep, go ahead, Dave.
So inspections are up. Permitting is down. Of course, it's that time of year. Nobody's doing a lot in November. We'll see a little jump this month before the holiday, but otherwise the rest of the summer or the rest of the winter is sort of the lull period. We're just doing catch up. The weather's been good enough for people who are still pouring concrete. And I guess there's actually a local plant that's still doing blacktop, which is awesome. Strange, but so the numbers are up. There was one rec fee, again, that's from Mountainside Woods last month, and that's it. Any questions?
I got a question for you, Dave, and thanks for all you do. The burn permits, I see you issued 7, but when does a burn permit become a nuisance? Like, I see this one resident keeps burning and burning, and her neighbor's houses are engulfed in smoke, the streets engulfed in smoke. When does the burn permit become?
I don't know. I don't do that piece. My role is the enforcement of the Clean Air Act, which is what the town is authorized to issue burn permits for. If there's another level of impact on neighbors, that would probably be, I don't know, Jim, you don't do that, right? Yeah, or DEC.
And the clean air, if the whole street is engulfed in smoke and people can't even see driving down the street.
Yeah, so
would it be
it's the
the fire
Clean Air
department?
Act,
Or
not the
DEC?
Clean Air.
If it comes as a DEC.
DEC?
DEC issue.
Okay.
Now, can you not issue a permit if that continues to happen, or is that your discretion?
No, it's not up to my discretion. We are empowered by the DEC to enforce the EPA's Clean Air Act, and that's what our permits reflect. So if there's an issue with those, I would make a phone call to the enforcement arm of the DEC.
Right, thanks.
Anything else? Thank you, Dave. Okay, dog control, I don't see it printed out, but I know Andrew sent out his report, there wasn't much activity.
And I did forward it to all the board members.
Okay, so everybody's seen it, thank you. Okay, highway, Richie?
Good afternoon. Nothing much going on now. We got all the trucks ready. We're out cleaning leaves. Blacktop plant's closed tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I gotta go to Pleasant Valley to get blacktop tomorrow to do some final patching. And that's about it. Short.
Okay, get ready for the winter.
Started a little bit up there for the
Oh, on that trail?
John Burroughs.
Yeah.
So, see what they're doing. That's, just picking up trees and trimming a little bit here.
Right,
and
right. Yeah, I
leaves
saw your
and-
guys out somewhere this morning.
Yeah, we had a repair, we helped Adam with a repair up on, Salt Drive, so hope to get that paved tomorrow.
Okay,
So,
Good. You ready to go for snow? No
trucks are
snow
ready.
this,
I don't know if we're ready, but
no snow this year.
I hope so. So, we were called out 6 times last year in December, so we'll see what happens this year.
yep. Weather looks pretty good for next week or so.
Next week's supposed to warm up a little bit, as a matter of fact.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Richie. Okay, historian Joan Kelly, and you could see she sent her report out, and Wendy put it in here. I don't think there's anything big. I know Peter has been putting out the rail trail signage. Chief Janso.
Good afternoon, everybody. November was one of our busier months. We had 1,190 calls of service. We responded to 53 accidents. 50 of those were probably damage to real personal injury. The department issued 97 tickets, 1 parking ticket. Had 27 arrests for the month.
Was the one parking ticket on the corner?
Yeah.
Was, good.
November 1st, excuse me. November 1st, we had 2 bikes donated by Mark Aaliyah from GP's Bike Shop, and they're up and running. November 8th, we had Cops and Coffee at Vineyard Commons. November 11th, we attended the Veterans Memorial Service. Also on Veterans Day, we attended a luncheon at the Valley Vista Assisted Living Facility to visit veterans there. Each one of them were given a ribbon and a thank you. November 14th, we had our Youth Rec League. We played kickball with the kids. November 20th, we had our Thanksgiving food drive ended. We delivered 30 bags of non-perishable food to St. Augustine's for their luncheon. On Thanksgiving Day, we delivered 13 lunches to people who couldn't make it to luncheon. And November 27th, we started our Operation Toy Drive. We have a box here and another station to collect toys that will go to the Methodist Church for Christmas to our local area kids. We had 1 overdose, no Narcan, and one of our officers completed his field training officer school. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Chief? Okay, thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, is Frank here? Don't see him. Wendy, you had anything?
Just that I turned over the re-levies for the 69 North Road and 9 Commercial Avenue to the county to be re-levied on their taxes this year.
Okay, great. I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad you did. Thank you. Okay, water and sewer, Adam? A busy week for you, I know. Busy month.
Yeah. Good evening, Adam Littman, Administrator for Town of Lloyd Water and Sewer. Yes, the weeks and months are always very busy. Some are a little more chaotic. That's what happens this time of the year. I'll start with water. In the month of November, river water was making up 90% of daily production. This week we began to blend river water and reservoir water. We had quite a bit of rain over the weekend, which has pushed us to the point of total saturation again, so we're seeing some more runoff again. The wells are making up the additional 10%. Our production time is still averaging between 10 and 11 hours per day. We experienced some problems with the pumping from the backwash tank again. Mr. Palmetier and Kenny Southworth. They came in, they took the lines apart, they flushed all the stuff out. We had some coal deposits. I think that the belly in the line that's underneath the tank is creating additional issues, but we should be up and running again next week. We need to. They also have to make a repair to the influent line on clarifier number 3 in the plant. That started leaking last month. I'm hoping it'll be an easy repair. Pretty much they cut the line, they put a new clamp and a stub on it. I'm hoping that works well. They're really starting to deteriorate from the inside out. Road crew, they experienced 2 water main breaks last month. One was on Brussia, and the other one was on Washington Avenue. The water main break or water main repair on Brussia Avenue, they had to fix that live. It took about 18 hours to do. They've been doing markouts and other service-related items. They're kind of gearing up to get ready for winter. Still trying to catch up on fall cleanup and some other things. This time of the year is kind of a lull for us. Some guys take time off to go hunting and spend time with family, so they're always trying to keep caught up. Sewer department, operations continue as normal. The additional rainfall in the last 6 months has definitely increased our plant influent, which increases our monthly averages. So we're definitely experiencing more problems with I&I this year than we've had in a very long time. As far as project updates, things have kind of slowed down. We're not spending too much time on Tilson. It's nice to be able to drive through. It takes about 6 minutes to get to work, which is a nice relief, but we are stopping in just to keep an eye on things. There's not much going on with the villages. No need for us to be there. Stewards is underway, as we see. Right now, they are about halfway completed with the bore under the road. I believe it's the 3rd crew that they've had on site. I've been notified that by Friday, they should be doing a tap and sleeve for the connection of the line, which will be good because then they can rebury the water main that's exposed, because I've kind of been on them a lot with the colder weather. Our tank. So let's talk about that. The tank structure is complete. So the existing mixing systems from the old tank have been installed in a new tank. We're waiting for it to be filled before we can run them and put them through a test, which has brought on a whole new thing this week. We are actively slowly filling the tank and trying to judge how much water we're putting into that tank, also feeding the town and maintaining the existing tank at the same time. It was going pretty good on Monday. Tuesday, we experienced a couple problems because it's very hard to try and monitor how much water is going into the tank. So we had thought we had some issues, but we got it straightened out now. We're going to continue to fill this tank a little bit at a time between Monday, this past Monday, and Friday. Then we'll probably take a break and start doing that again on Monday because we need the additional staffing at the plant to be run. At some point in time, the town and the residents will see an increase in pressure in the systems. So I'm just letting everybody know that. It's going to be temporary. We think it'll probably be about 3 to 4 days where you'll see some increased pressure because we have to operate 2 tanks at a maximum capacity to the point of overflow to top one off so that it can be sampled and shut down. There'll be a few day waiting period between samples before we can go live, and then it's got to be checked for chlorination. Optimistically, or I'm optimistic that this tank will be in service in the next week and a half to 2 weeks. And then they'll start the process of taking the other tank out of service, and hopefully we'll finish up the project pretty soon.
And they haul that all the way there. That was all part of the price, right? I
Yeah.
thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. And that's really all I have to talk about, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Adam? Okay, thanks, Adam.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Frank, you want to come up?
How you doing? First off, youth basketball, that's going to start this Saturday at the middle school. Adult basketball, it's ongoing. It started about 3 weeks ago. The parks are cleaned up for the winter, all in pretty good shape. We still have the tennis nets at Tony Williams and the pickleball nets at Berrien. They're still up. We'll take them down once we know the first substantial snow is going to be here. Then we'll get them down at that point. Downtown is set up for Christmas with Darlene Popchak and running the show there with Stephen Delmar, Brandon Parker, and the Baker brothers. We had everything set up last week. The lights on the poles, I believe they're going to be on Friday for the Santa coming, and anything else that she needs, we'll take care of and get that set up. As you can see, the Christmas banners from last year, we got them up in different spots.
Yep.
So I believe every one of them are up. There might be 1 or 2 left over. I know Richie and his crew have been doing a lot of work up at Tony Williams, getting the dirt out of there. He did put some behind the softball field. I know he screened some and brought it down to the parking lot, to the pavilion in the municipal parking lot. So, and I believe, John, you mentioned that they're going to start work on the 18th. Is that the
18th.
plan?
Yeah, Monday, the 18th.
Okay. That's really it. We did receive checks from both baseball leagues that use the field in the summer. I have 1 or 2 other groups that I need to get that rented the softball field. I'll get that by the end of the month. And then we'll get ready for next spring.
Okay, anybody have questions for Frank?
Frankie, how many times a year do they fertilize the fields?
Typically, we try to get 4 applications put down. That can be done in 3 times or 4. But there's been years where we've only been able to do 2, and that's because of weather and/or the availability of the field itself to be done. We try to do it Memorial Day and Labor Day as 2 of them because that's when I know nothing's scheduled on those days. And then we try to squeeze another one in somewhere in the summer or early spring. But a lot of it has to depend on weather.
When, as far as, did the bid go out yet for the?
No.
No. I have an idea, and this is just my idea. Why can't we keep the fertilization out of the bid with the landscaping, the grass cutting? have two separate bids, because we could hire somebody else for the fertilization. Maybe we can get more people to bid on the grass cutting, and maybe we could get a better cost.
That's a possibility. I know we're gonna have a meeting to discuss that between now and in the January meeting, correct?
Correct.
And I know some of the things that were listed in there, we're probably gonna take out, because we're gonna be doing them in-house. So,
But that was one of
That
the
was-
things we looked at, Mike, was
Right.
should we separate different elements of that bid? Whether it's fertilization, whether it was the.
Because I don't think there's that many people that
Yeah.
do both.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
And keep them separate, and maybe we get a
And we
better,
also got some, I think, Wendy, you went out and you got us some input from what other towns do. So we have some of that data to look at, so we're trying to see how they do their bids for this type of work and what we have, so we'll talk more between now and January of what we actually put in there. But there's a couple ideas, I know that was one, Mike, and there was a couple others, so before it goes out, the board will go through it.
Dave, are you looking for final approval, like, by the board in February or January? February, you're thinking? Because I'm just thinking because of the lawn care companies, they
Yeah.
kind of need to know, I would say the latest, early February.
I think we should get it out in January.
Okay,
Yeah. So maybe the first meeting, we'll get everybody to look at it
All right.
and do the resolution by the second meeting in January.
okay.
That sound right or not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Anything else?
thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, I think that's all the reports. Let's move on to the rest of the agenda. Old business, Tilson Talk. Vineyard opened up Friday the 1st, and Talk opened up yesterday the 5th. They're going to continue to work as long as weather allows. They have flaggers from 7 a.m. to 4 a.m. daily, so it's one lane for a good portion of 7 to 4, and then 2 lanes both ways on the other days. We're finalizing remaining work. I know Richie and Lenny and I met with ACS and B&L last week, and we meet with them again Tuesday to go over, what's remaining, what's the time frame. But they're going to work as long as they can work this year. So we'll keep updating that.
I have something on old business. The pavilion, do we have a final cost of, because Dave, you sent me what you believed it was going to be the number. You said is that still the number?
Well, for the pavilion and the cement, we know what that is now, because that was actual.
Right.
The only thing that was estimated on what I sent back when everybody requested it was the bathroom. That was still an estimate.
So the whole pavilion should cost us how much?
I thought it was whatever was on there, $450 or something like that. It was
And do we
between-
have all the money for the pavilion?
We have right now 225,000 in grants. And
That's
so
with the
far,
money that Jacobson gave, that's with the 125 Jacobson gave us?
125 and then 100,000 I got from the county.
And then where's the other 225,000 coming
Well,
from?
we're either going to apply for another grant because we're not going to do the bathrooms till next year, or we will take it out of either rec or the COVID funds or whatever the board decides.
Can we use the covert funds for
Absolutely,
that?
absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
So then you'd have
How
enough.
much do we have?
If you use the COVID and a rec, you have enough money to pay for
Oh,
it.
absolutely have enough for COVID, we still have $1 million in there. Well, I think we're going to spend on some of it on Richie's roof and a couple things we talked to Chief, and then some matching grants.
So Wendy, could you just put that in the record that we have enough money to pay for it through COVID and through,
Well, what we do, or we wouldn't have started the work, yes, we do. And depending on the development next year, when we start collecting rec fees, we'll have plenty more there. Okay? Anything else for old business? If not, Neil, I'm going to introduce you under new business, Neil Curry, our Environmental Conservation Committee lead. And if you remember, we applied for, I think it was called Smart Climate. And Smart Communities, Climate Community, right. And we've, it's kind of a point system. And when you reach the first 3 tiers, I think you get a $5,000 grant. And we completed the one by sending Dave to a training class. We should be able to complete the streetlight one. And then Neil was with his intern, and you can introduce her, Neil, was doing benchmarking on energy consumption also across town. So you could take the stage.
Yeah, so let me clarify a couple of things before I invite Lauren up to give their presentation. I think Margaret's going to bring it up. So I think it's in the web browser, Margaret, in the Google Chrome icon at the bottom. So yeah, that red, blue, and yellow one. There we go. Yeah, can you put that button that says slideshow? Thank you. So there's actually two programs that we're working with. So what the board had to vote on, I think a few months ago, was to take the pledge, which is a requirement of a Climate Smart Communities program. So that's a program of the DEC. And so Dave's right, it's a point-based system. And then the community earns points by taking sort of prescribed actions that they have laid out. And what that program does is that sets the town up for receiving technical assistance and grants from the DEC and other agencies. But then there's sort of a partner program or a sister program, if you will, that's managed by NYSERDA, and that's Clean Energy Communities. So Clean Energy Communities is one that like gets the town some money, and Climate Smart Communities sort of indirectly can get the town money by putting in a position to get grants and technical assistance. So what we're working on is really actions that qualify for points in both of these programs. There's a lot of overlap between the two, so most communities choose to do both. So the town had to do a couple of things to become a climate smart community, which include registering the town with the DEC. So if you go to the Climate Smart Communities webpage, climatesmart.ny.gov, you'll see, along with any other town in New York State that's at least taken the pledge, and other communities who have achieved a certain status based on the number of points they've earned, they'll all be on that map, and Lloyd is there with all those communities now, and several counties as well. And so we're trying to work on a few different actions that really cover both programs, so that we're getting points in the climate smart communities, but we're also working toward what are referred to as high impact actions in Clean Energy Communities program. And those high impact actions in Clean Energy Communities program, that's what will get the town some money. So we're trying to work to that first sort of benchmark in that program, which is 4 high impact actions. And so actually what Lauren's worked on is greenhouse gas inventory for the town. So it's a municipal greenhouse gas inventory, so it just covers municipal operations. And we thought that was really the first step to doing the benchmarking and other high impact actions, just to kind of see where the town's at. So we've got the slides up. I'll let Lauren take over, and then you might have some questions for Lauren, and then I'd like to say 1 or 2 more things after she's done.
Welcome, Lauren.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Yeah, I'll advance the slides. Thanks.
Lauren, can I just get your last name?
Yes, Pacheco.
Want to spell that?
Pacheco.
Thank you.
Yes, so I'm just here to kind of run you folks through the findings of this municipal greenhouse gas inventory that I did. Neil, could you advance the slide?
There we go.
Great. Yeah, so like Neil was saying, this is basically just a measure of greenhouse gas emissions from municipal operations, which contribute to climate change. And so this is just a baseline, and so hopefully the town can use this baseline to track progress on emissions reductions, which are also cost reductions, and just track that process over time. And like Neil said, this is a priority step in the Climate Smart Communities program, which gets the town access to all this great funding for climate mitigation and adaptation projects. So this inventory required basically compiling a lot of data from a lot of different sources. And there's three kind of main types of sources, so I just want to walk everyone through what those are so the results make a little more sense. So the kind of most time-consuming resource was looking through Central Hudson accounts, so that's natural gas accounts and electric accounts from all different facilities of the town. And then there's also some vehicle fleet data from Highway Department records. So that's just a breakdown by department of gasoline and diesel usage throughout the year. And then some miscellaneous emission sources. We did have some tank fuels, just a little bit of propane, really a pretty insignificant amount. And there's also some wastewater treatment data. And I'm sure some folks in the room probably know a little bit more about this than I do, but from my understanding, that number just comes from nitrous oxide emissions that are released throughout the wastewater treatment process. All right, that graph's a little small, but I'll walk you through these results. So this is a breakdown by facility of, as I was saying, just like that first bullet point, the Central Hudson accounts. And so this is a graph of all of the natural gas and electric usage from different facilities. So each one of those bars represents a different facility or facility grouping. And so the highest grouping was the town of Lloyd wastewater, so the wastewater treatment plant, followed by the Highland Water District and the water treatment plant with outdoor lighting as a...
What is the unit of measure?
That is metric tons of carbon dioxide. So this is a measure of emissions. Yep.
Oh, I see now.
Yep. Yeah, so as we can see, the buildings really don't seem to be a huge source of, a huge energy usage or a huge source of emissions. It's mostly water treatment and wastewater treatment and a bit of outdoor lighting. Okay, so this is a breakdown of all emissions by function. So this includes the Central Hudson that we looked at before, as well as the gasoline and diesel vehicle fleet numbers, and that wastewater treatment and propane. And so it seems like vehicle fleet is really the biggest contributor by far to emissions, far more than electricity, far more than natural gas. And could you advance the slide, Neil? Actually, could you go one more and then we'll go back to this? Sure. Thank you. Okay. So, actually, wait. Go back and then we'll go forward.
Back here?
No, back to the pie chart. Okay, thank you. So this is a full breakdown of which energy sources are causing the most emissions, so which fuel types are releasing the most emissions. And so that green and that blue at the bottom, those represent vehicle fleet energy usage. And so those are taking up more than half of the emissions of the town, whereas electricity is about 25%. That nitrous oxide release from the wastewater treatment plant is around 12%. And then miscellaneous stuff, natural gas and propane, is a pretty insignificant amount. And so I thought that was really interesting. I was surprised by the fact that the vehicle fleet was so responsible for so many emissions. So I did this breakdown by department. It seems like the highway department is the highest, using the most amount of gasoline and diesel. Worth mentioning that diesel causes a little bit more emissions than gasoline, I think about 15% more. And that's followed by the police department and water and sewer department, with the vehicles in the building department and buildings and grounds being fairly insignificant. And so it's interesting to compare the previous pie chart with this energy costs chart, you can see it looks pretty different from the other chart in that while electricity was only about 25% of emissions, it's about 75% of the total cost to the town. Whereas gasoline and diesel, which were each about 25% of the emissions, they're a lot, they're, maybe like 10% of the emissions apiece. And it looks like natural gas is also kind of like disproportionately expensive to how much emissions it's producing. And so just key findings to reiterate, I think I've said most of this before, but gasoline and diesel together comprised more than half of the town's emissions. Electricity made up 28.5% of emissions, but accounted for 74.4% of total cost. And within that electricity category, wastewater facilities used the most, closely followed by water delivery facilities. And so just like some preliminary recommendations, obviously I don't know very much about the operations of the town, but I guess like my biggest recommendation from doing this would be to maybe do like a more comprehensive fleet inventory. I don't know if something like that has been done recently, to see if when it's time to retire vehicles, they could possibly be replaced with vehicles of lower emissions, be that electric vehicles, hybrids, or even just like lighter duty trucks in the case of very heavy duty trucks. And then this is kind of a weaker point because I think wastewater treatment and water delivery, it makes sense that they use a lot of electricity, but I think to consider where those where that electricity usage is coming from and maybe see where electricity saving measures could be implemented in those fields. That would be useful as well.
Probably more from a cost perspective than a emissions perspective. I mean, electricity's $500,000, just electricity. That's
yeah,
enlightening, I think, to some people.
yeah.
Just out of curiosity, were you able to compare our stats with any other communities, and how would we compare to them?
Yeah, that would be a great next step. That wasn't part of this particular inventory, but I think we could do that very easily.
Yeah, you brought up some great points. Wendy, is it possible we can get a copy of this and put it on the website so our townspeople can refer to it? Great job. Terrific.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lauren. Thank you. Neil, you want to follow up?
Yeah, so I think this helps kind of, gives us some information to think about kind of going forward, right? So one of the things that we've worked on, John Frano gave us some numbers from the lighting, and what we found is that we're almost at the point where we can get the credits for the LED streetlights, and we think that once we get the numbers from some of the new development in town, those lights will be LEDs and will qualify for that as well. Dave Barton already did the energy code enforcement training, so that gets us 2 of the 4 that we're looking at. And so as far as thinking about, there's decisions to be made in terms of the other actions we're going to go after next. One that would be relatively easy to do, I think, from an effort, time and effort perspective, would be for the town to adopt a unified solar permit. And so one of the things that I brought to the board last time I was here, I don't know if it was last month or the month before, was some proposed language for that permit. So that would get enshrined in town law. So obviously you'd have to look at that, debate that, and vote on that. So there's proposed language that would go into the town law to permit, this would be solar on rooftops mainly, or on private properties or commercial properties. So we're not talking about large commercial grade installations. It would extend, it would enlarge the area that would be permitted through this permit program, right? So as opposed to going to the planning board and having to get it approved to do a slightly larger installation than what's allowed, I think in the code it specifies 1,500 square feet, I think.
It's 15, right?
1,600 square feet?
15, yeah.
1,500 square feet. So the unified solar permit limits installation not necessarily by area, but by power, right, by capacity. So a 25 kilowatt installation is what it would allow, right? So it's a streamlined permit process for property owners to do to install up to a 25 kilowatt installation. And the average size of that in this part of the country would take out about 1,650 square feet. So it'd be an increase of about 150 square feet. So the increase in area would be relatively minor from what the code says right now. So there was proposed language that I provided to the board last month and a proposed sort of permit application form. So I'd ask the board to consider that because that would be the third of these 4 actions. And then the next thing we would probably work on is doing the benchmarking or working on maybe installing a couple of charging stations. So the supervisor and myself and the grant writer have traded some emails about that. That requires a little bit of money from the town because there has to be some electrical infrastructure that's installed. The grants will provide money for the charging stations themselves, but I believe not the electrical infrastructure to the actual charging stations. So the site that we had in mind, or that the supervisor suggested, was the lot around the corner behind the
being carted off.
Yeah. So that would be, that would be a potential location for that.
That was actually when we got the grant, we were given the 2 stations, that was one of the possibilities we were looking at. So that's a great choice.
Yeah, I think the reason I thought about that was because it would go on the map that you get with EV on the GPS, and that people would at least know that parking lot's there. It's hard to find that one.
Neil, quick question, the 2 charging stations we have, they have to be about 6 to 7 years old.
Right.
And that technology is probably outdated, and you said it doesn't really help us.
I don't think so.
If we had them replaced,
I don't
because
think
the wiring's all there, would that help us get into this?
No, I don't think so, because they wouldn't be new, right? I think they want to see an increase in capacity for charging stations, and I don't know that the technology has really aged out. I don't think it's changed much in the last.
So just putting new stations where the old ones wouldn't help us out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have how many? 4 now, right? We have the 2 out here and 2 down in town.
Yeah.
We're at 4
And if we
now.
put more in the town.
That's
than
where you get
lots,
the,
Then we would, if we put another, because that may be an advantage, we would have the wires already there, and we might not be that expensive.
right,
Put
so we
another
could put
2.
more where we have
Have
them
them,
now.
yeah.
That would add to the footprint, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, it could be 2 more chargers at the depot
Right.
or at the town field. That would probably qualify as well. And so one potential path is if the town's willing to do the unified solar permit, and then hopefully I can get another intern like Lauren next semester, or our committee can work on doing the benchmarking, then we've hit those 4 things, and then we get that $5,000. So that $5,000 could be used to pay for that
To pay
interest.
for the infrastructure, some of the.
That could be one way to do it, but there could be some other things that might be more worthwhile for the town to do with that money, because it's not a lot of money. It's not going to do us a whole lot, but it might be enough to do that electrical infrastructure for charging stations. It could, a couple of other thoughts I had is to put towards streetlight purchases. Again, I don't know what the costs are for that, but in the other communities that I've been talking with, everybody who's purchased streetlights from Central Hudson, their return on investment has been relatively quick. Again, that's some outlay for the town at the beginning. So there'd have to be some cost analysis done. That's maybe something we could work on too. Or it could be, what that $5,000 goes toward.
Yeah. Let's get it first, I think. We'll for sure find a place to spend it. I mean, so it's good work, and I definitely want it. So now that Lauren's created that baseline, we can now start doing the benchmarking.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, but one thing to keep in mind with the benchmarking is it has to be updated every year.
Right.
Right. So the other thing I wanted to say is thank you to the supervisor, to Margaret, to other department heads who have provided all the information. Lauren's worked on other greenhouse gas inventories in other communities, and it was way harder to get information than it was from the folks that we had to talk to. So everybody's gotten us information like right away when we had questions. Questions were answered, so that made it a lot easier than Lauren's experience in other communities. So
Okay,
I want
glad
to
to
thank
hear
everybody
that.
for that. And one other potential idea that I thought of too, again, we can, you can figure this out later, but another potential use of that $5,000 could be looking into solar feasibility, right? So we talked about what would it actually cost to bring a line down, what is it, Lily Lake Road to the landfill?
Be way more than 5K.
Right, right. But what would it cost, right? So presumably the town's engineer, could work a day
Right.
and come up with the numbers, do a quick study, right? And maybe that $5,000 would pay for that feasibility study. Does it actually make sense? Or installing solar panels on, like, say, the water plant building, right? Because that's where a lot of that electricity cost is coming from.
That's where I would look. There's a
So
couple
maybe
spots.
maybe 5,000 is enough to pay for an engineering study to see what, the cost would be and what the return on investment would be on that. So those are just some ideas
Okay.
for what to do with that, and we'll work as quick as we can to get to that point. All right.
I
And-
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Last thing, and I'm sorry to take up so much time, but I wanted to get this all in there. We are coordinating, one of the things we have to do is coordinate a climate smart task force. All right, so that'll be basically a
Right.
committee. It'll probably include a couple of folks from the ECC, but I'm casting out a net for volunteers to serve on that committee as well. So I'm glad Mark's here and everybody's here to hear that. And I'll be announcing a meeting probably in January or early February to do that first meeting.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
Great job, Neil.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for new business. For today's agenda, privilege to the floor. Here, Peter?
Peter Belizzi, Hudson Valley Rail Trail Association. Last year at this time, we spoke about the bathrooms on 101 New Poles Road. I have not had any altercations so far. I'm about to turn the heat on in them.
Okay.
Hopefully, we don't have any problems with that.
Okay.
Right?
Good. Keep an eye on them. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, then we'll move forward to motions and resolutions. Can I get a motion to approve the town board minutes from November 1st, 2023, and November 8th, 2023, and November 15th, 2023?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The abstentions? Okay. Okay, B is a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the 2023 DWI High Visibility Engagement Campaign Agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Resolution C is to close Main Street from Church Street to the intersection of Woodside Place and Vineyard Avenue, from Main Street to Milton Avenue on Friday night, December 8th, from 4 to 9 p.m. with no parking on those streets after 4 for the celebration of Christmas in the Hamlet, or Light Up the Hamlet.
Motion.
Okay, Frano and Akmudi, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Okay, Resolution D. Whereas the town of Lloyd has requested funding for purpose to finish design and purchase and install a natural gas-powered emergency backup generator to power the Hudson River Pump Station facility during any electrical service outage to maintain uninterrupted water supply. The funding is to be administered by New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services pursuant to the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And you see the number there for the Hudson River Pump Station. And whereas the FEMA agency has approved the said funding request in the amount not to exceed total project cost of $417,000, the federal share being $375,000, and the non-federal match $41,700, with an additional $8,000 towards management costs funded of the federal share to make the federal share $383,300 for the project. Whereas the town is in receipt of the State of New York Master Contract for Grants, outline the terms and conditions, and the town's FEMA and the town's FEMA agency and the New York State Division of Homeland Security, respective obligations for the funding and management of said grant. Now therefore it's resolved as follows, that the State of New York master contracts for grants between the Town of Lloyd, New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services is hereby approved, and the supervisor is authorized to sign the said contract on behalf of the town. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion, the 41.7 is what we're gonna have to contribute?
That's our match, correct?
And that was that put in our budget for next year?
That will come out of COVID funds, yes.
So it wasn't budgeted for, it's coming out of COVID funds?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
So Hylian will never have a problem having enough water.
What's that?
I says Hylian will never have a problem with not having enough water.
Oh,
The developers are gonna love it.
yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Wendy, you want to do a roll call, please?
Roll call, Frano,
Yes.
Lavcheck.
Yes.
Akmoody.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Mazzetti.
Yes. Dave, quick question. With this coming out and the other, would you say $200,000 for the pavilion, what's left in the COVID funds?
Right now, there's over $1 million.
We have $1 million.
And I think I know I gave you guys all a spreadsheet at one of the preceding meetings where we got a breakdown. It had the roof for the highway garage and the pavilion match, and then we put aside, I think it was $300,000 for grant matches out of that. And we have till the end of 2026 to spend it, but we have to designate it all by the end of 2024. Okay? So we'll move on to Resolution E. Whereas the Town of Lloyd's current contract for ambulance service with Mobile Life Support Services will expire at the end of the calendar year, the Town Board, as commissioners of the Highland Ambulance District, had previously requested proposals for ambulance services commencing January 1st, 2024. The Board has previously accepted the proposal submitted by New Paltz Rescue Squad and authorized the supervisor to obtain a formal contract from New Paltz Rescue Squad memorializing agreement. And whereas the supervisor has attained a formal contract and distributed it to the town board members for their review and considerations, a copy of which is attached as Exhibit A, town board now wishes to approve the said contract with New Paltz Rescue Squad. So now therefore it's resolved as followed. The agreement between the town board and the New Paltz Rescue Squad for emergency medical and general ambulance service in the town of Lloyd commencing on January 1st, 2024 and expiring on December 31st, 2024, attached hereto as Exhibit A, is hereby approved for the consideration set forth in the agreement, and the supervisor is authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the town.
Motion.
Frano, motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Okay.
So, well, I'm very pleased and very glad you guys are coming aboard, and thank you for the discussion we had. It was very helpful, and I was able to guide me in the right direction. So I'm glad we're getting a quality service. Quick question though, last time we spoke, Mobile Life was not responding to calls, they weren't living up to their contract. Where do we end up, and can we take them on sooner so we get quality services? Doesn't seem like
No,
we're getting it.
we can't, because
We can't break the contract with them for not fulfilling it?
it's,
Are we paying them?
we're paying them, and you know what, the penalties that are in the contract, based on what the piece of service they haven't fulfilled, I don't think we could collect for. We looked at that.
Yeah, but Sean, they
And
didn't even.
the second piece of it is, in order for New Paltz Rescue to take over, we have to get the certificate of need completed. And certificate of need, we needed the contract to send in, which we got the contract now. And thank you, Matt, for turning it around. And then the certificate of need goes into Albany tomorrow to the Department of Health, and they tell us it'll take 2 weeks to turn around.
Because my concern is that there was a couple of days they didn't even have anybody manning the ambulances.
I don't know that's true.
We spoke about that.
No, they had them manned.
Yeah.
They've always had them manned.
I'm not aware of that.
We're not aware of any time they did not have them manned. If you have
There was the one
If
we
you have
discussed it.
evidence of that, give it to us.
There was talk about it. There was one that, there was a day or 2 days that they had nobody, they had nobody. There was those calls, and we talked about that.
Oh, that's going back to August, Jim.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't have a man then?
They
So
missed-
there was a
I
time
think
they
it was-
didn't have it
They
manned.
missed 2 calls over Labor Day or something. They could not respond.
Right.
Right.
If I may.
Yeah, Matt, come. You could, Matt Goodnow is the CEO of New Paltz Rescue Squad.
So while we can't start the contract ahead of time, I've already begun to obviously staff up operations. And under the Ulster County Mutual Aid Plan, in the event of them not being able to answer calls, we will eventually get called. And currently, I am adding staffing more and more every day to be able to handle those calls.
Right.
So while they'll not be placed in Lloyd, they'll still be in New Paltz. We're halfway there.
That's awesome. The sad part is that we're paying them
Yeah.
for something they're not delivering on. But that's the point. But that's why I'm really excited to have you, and thank you so much for
Of course.
being there for us.
Okay, any other discussion?
Thank you, Matt. No.
Okay, then Wendy will do a roll call on this also.
Yes.
Plavcheck.
Yes.
Akmoody.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
And Mazzetti.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried 5-0. Welcome, Matt. We'll get that contract back to you and to the state tomorrow. Okay?
And if I could just add to that, Monday, Matt and I, we had a meeting, had a little tour, met a lot of his staff, and I was favorably impressed with the overall operation. There's a sense of excitement with your staff about providing services to Lloyd, so I'm looking forward to our relationship and hoping for the best.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Resolution F and G are both bids that were going to go out for roofs for the town hall. And we had talked about this before, and when Richie got the bid, they were over our limit for getting written bids, and we had to do an RFP. So Resolution F is for the roof at the highway garage and office at 430 New Paltz Road. So we have an RFP that we're sending out with all the materials for the RFP, and the town wishes to issue the RFP and invite bids. So the town hereby authorizes the advertisement and bidding for the project in a form attached here to in accordance with town law and other state requirements. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Wendy, you want to take a roll call?
Frano.
Yes?
Plavcheck.
Yes.
Akmoody.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Mazzetti.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. And Resolution G is similar, but it's for a roof at the salt shed. So it's basically the wording's the same. And so what I'm looking for is the town board to authorize the advertisement and bidding for the project in accordance with town law and other state requirements for the salt shed roof. So I'm looking for a motion. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? Wendy, roll call again, please.
Frano.
Yes?
Plavcheck.
Yes.
Akmoody.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Mazzetti.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried, so we'll get those bids out. Okay, Resolution H is to authorize the supervisor to approve the MVP retiree Medicare benefits for the 2024 contract. Pricing will stay the same as 2023 with no changes to the premium.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay.
How many people are on this plan?
The MVP retiree plan
There
is 6.
6 people.
as of
And how,
January 1.
and how much is it costing the town?
The 18 a month per,
318?
it's 318. These are for retirees only.
Right.
Is it, but the people that are over 65 qualify?
Retirees only.
Yeah, they have to be over 65 if it's
They have to be
Medicare.
Well, yeah, they would have to be.
Yeah.
No, they don't have to be over 65 to retire.
No, but for Medicare benefits, you have to be
Medicare
65.
benefits, yes.
So this is Medicare,
Oh, this is for their insurance?
Right.
Their insurance, I think it's 400, isn't it?
418?
Something like that.
I may be mistaken. I don't
Yeah,
have any
4.
information right in front of me.
Okay.
okay, so there's 6 people on it. So it's around 2,000 a year, somewhere, right around there.
So,
Yeah,
so
19.
I have a question.
if you're still working for the town and you're 65 and over, do you come under that supplement plan? Or is the town paying the full shot for somebody's insurance?
Well, you wouldn't come under this town plan, because this is for retirees.
Well, 65,
Right.
this is a supplement. Now, if you're 65, you get Medicare, and then you get a supplement plan. Whatever Medicare doesn't pay, the supplement plan.
That's correct.
Picks up.
Which is a different plan than this one. This is the HRA benefits for 2024.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
I think that's a question, Mike, you need to ask the insurance agent, and say like, if we have town employees that are above 65, would they get the same quality insurance if they went with the supplement? And would it save the town money? Because when you discussed it with me, it sounded like we're paying $800 a month for certain individuals under an individual plan, and if they were on the supplement, it would be $400.
Right, and then we get the same benefit.
Right, the exact same thing, it just saves the
So
taxpayer.
we should lay it out. It's probably too late for this year, because December 7th was the cutoff.
I understand that,
But we
yeah.
should look at it, that this here is the HRA benefit for Medicare, for the retirees. So what you're talking about is a different thing, but we should look at it. I'm fine looking at it. We should lay it out side by
Anybody
side.
that's 65,
Everybody 65 is eligible for Medicare, correct? And that should be your primary, once you turn 65, that's your primary source of benefits.
Now, I'm over 65.
No, you're not.
Yes.
I thought you were
Yes, I am.
62.
Yes,
I thought you were
am.
about 62.
So my supplement plan cost me like it's going up $314. And I pay that myself, okay?
Right.
It doesn't come out of the town.
Mike is very passionate
Now,
about
if I
this.
wanted to switch over to the town insurance, what would the town pay? $800 a month for me because I'm an employee?
You're not an employee?
I'm not an employee?
Well, we have
I
a
am.
board, we have a board member that
Yeah.
we have a board member that gets it, and they get.
Yeah, I guess they still
800
get
It's
benefits,
800.
right?
You'd be considered an employee for that plan,
Employee.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So it would cost the town $800 to put him?
If that's what the price is, that's what Mike's saying. The
See,
price.
and I pay out of pocket. I pay out of my own pocket. I've always had my own insurance. And then, because the cost keeps increasing, I started to look into this. And a couple of years ago, I think we had the same problem with the town. They were paying retirees the full shot on their insurance when they were eligible for Medicare supplement. And that has changed with a couple of them. But I guess as I started to look into it, we still have same situation kind of.
Because the health insurance is actually more than the salary of the board member. You think about it, $800 a month. It's-
Yeah, we should lay out the different Medicare benefit options, I
And I
mean,
did send that email to Chad this afternoon, asking him about.
from your question the other day, so she sent forward all that.
And one thing you might want to consider when you reorg is eliminating the health insurance altogether from board members, because it's a part-time position.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look at that in the reorg, but we'll do the side-by-side
Yeah,
comparison.
That medical isn't up until, the June 1.
Right.
Because I know in the past, we eliminated the buyout, because there was no buyout anymore, so you could probably look at that.
Right, a prior board eliminated the buyout, correct. But that doesn't mean this board has to do the same thing. We could look at what our options are. So we'll lay them out and see what the prices are. It's July 1st, I think it comes up, correct? Okay. And that's through Rice Group right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, right.
Okay, so this one is for the Medicare HRA benefits, not the supplement, Mike. Okay, so we had a motion, we had a discussion. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried. And then motion I is to appoint Peter Brooks, Sean Williams, Molly Erickson to the Comprehensive Plan Committee, replace 3 members that previously resigned, Mike Rosinski, Dave Mendelson, and Scott Anzalone. Could I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Well, who else was interviewed for these positions?
It's the only 3 letters I got.
Because I'm familiar with a couple of names, but one of the individuals, I don't know how qualified they are.
What's that?
One of them, I'm not sure how qualified they are.
Okay.
So I mean, do we just put people on boards just because they applied and,
No, because we talk to them and they're interested and they help us from a makeup of the total board from a skill set and diversity. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
no?
All opposed? Joe?
No.
Okay, motion carried 4-1.
Mike said no.
I said no.
You said no? Okay, motion carried 3-2. Didn't hear you, I'm sorry, Mike.
Mike said no.
Okay, anything else, the board tonight? Can I get a motion,
Quick question, swearing in ceremony is what day and time?
we haven't set it up yet, it'll be January 1st, we haven't picked a time yet.
First?
Yep. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Excuse me. I was wanting to go into executive session regarding pending litigation.
Oh, okay. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll go into exec, I was gonna ask you about that today, too. I was gonna ask you about that today.
Can you text me your number?
Thank you.
I don't know, Matt, I got it off of some document, but maybe I just transposed it when I put it in. Thank you, everyone.
She ended up, we signed her up.
What do we, what? Lenny.
Oh, God.
What's that? All right.
I haven't been over here. Fuck, stink all my time. My ears crackling.
Oh, you're here?